Takes a while.
There I am. There I am. Let me move this. One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2. Ah, we have some people here. We have some people here. All right. Let me wait for a little bit. Get some people in here. 2, 2, 2. What will be, will be. Shoo. All right. Just notified. Wow, people are getting notified. This is unique. A unique day in American history. People getting notified that we're live. Okay. Gonna wait a little bit, folks, to get a little bit of a larger audience, so just bear with me. Maybe put in a couple questions, comments, concerns in the super chat. This is a super chat. If you're feeling super, let me know. We're just a few hours from the New Hampshire primary results. The first entrance poll is coming up at, I think, in 15 minutes. So very, very exciting. We have a special guest today, so we're also excited about that. Who could be the special guest? Whoa. Who could be the special guest? Hope you don't mind. I know Mama told me don't eat and speak at the same time, but I didn't have time to eat lunch because we have a bit of breaking news. So when our special guest is talking, I'm going to be off camera eating my fries. Please don't yell at me for having McDonald's. Hey, no, don't say anything. I want it to be a surprise. So don't giggle, Jen. Oh, I just gave it away. Oh, I gave it away. So Jen is joining us because we are very, very high tech here. Jen is joining us through Zoom, so we will have to just zoom in on her. Jen, co-founder, Status Coup in the house, because your integrity has been impugned as well in this smear against our integrity. So there's Jen. So we'll be going back and forth between Jen and I. As a reminder, sorry, Jen, you got to disappear for a second. As a reminder, everybody, press that like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the video. The more people that press that like button, the more people that will see this live stream. So please, please, please press the like button. Share it, share it, share it. Sharing is caring. So we're obviously, everybody's excited about the New Hampshire primary. So I want to start with that. We're not so arrogant. We're not so arrogant to start with us being smeared by Bill Kristol and John Podesta. So we will get to that in a little bit because our integrity was smeared and there might be consequences. I'm just going to say that. Jen, we're going to start with the primary, but if people don't know what happened yet, how outrageous is this smear that we're going to talk about?
It is so outrageous. I could not believe it when Jordan texted it to me. Just absolutely stunning. Not surprising, but stunning. Absolutely stunning. And by some expected folks. So can't wait to talk about that.
So let's start with the primary. Entrance polls are in 15 minutes. We've already seen both CNN, MSNBC are essentially preemptively saying, well, if Bernie wins, it doesn't matter. He won by 20 points in 2016. If he only wins by like 1 point, it's basically a loss. Basically trying to preemptively damage Bernie. So far, I've been monitoring. I haven't heard anything that makes me think there's crazy fudgery going on. The night is still young, but I haven't heard about that many polling irregularities or something that would tell me fraud or anything like that. but the night is still young. Bernie, it seems from most of the polls, should win here. What are your thoughts on the preemptive media narrative that because they can't do math, they seem to not understand that he won by 20 points against one candidate. Now he's up against 9, so that doesn't matter. What are your thoughts on the preemptive? I mean, listen, we shouldn't declare victory until he wins, but obviously they are trying to minimize a possible victory for him.
Yeah, they're absolutely trying to minimize any potential victory because they expect, based on the polling, that Bernie will win New Hampshire. That I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I am very worried about the surge that Mayor Pete had towards the end there in the polling. But the media is trying to paint the picture already because Bernie is expected to win Bernie is expected to win, but it's only going to be by, maybe 3 points or 4 points or whatever it is. They don't seem to, like Jordan said, that this is a completely different race with what?
Let me take you off of full screen because you were, I think full screen was making you go. Keep going.
Okay. It's the media is painting this picture of Bernie. They're trying to make sure that Bernie doesn't look like his surge is real. 538 has it predicted of Bernie sweeping the board. They don't want it to look like that. They don't want it to appear as if, even if Bernie wins, and as I said, he's expected to win, they don't want that to look good for Bernie. If it were Mayor Pete who was ahead and who wins by 3 points or whatever, oh my gosh, Mayor Pete coming in, like crazy. Whoever thought that this small town mayor could have ever done this? So if you think about the difference in the way that the media would portray a Buttigieg win versus a Bernie win, it's very clear what they're doing.
And by the way, I don't know who's complaining in the live chat saying, Jordan, why aren't you out in the field? How about because I drove 5 hours yesterday and I'm monitoring if there's any election fraud going on? I'm going out into the field tonight. Do I need to work 24 hours a day?
Oh my gosh, guys.
Don't get me started.
It's New Hampshire.
Say that again?
New Hampshire isn't 5 minutes and you're there to the next stop. He has to drive hours and hours and prepare and research and talk to sources. He'll be in the field. Don't worry.
Yes,
don't worry.
I will be at the Bernie Sanders party tonight. So by the way, we got 460 people watching, right? We need every single one of you to press that like button. We are going to be live from Bernie's event later tonight, so we look forward to that. Definitely speaking with his supporters. Also, we are now at 1,277. 1,277 status Coup members. Our goal is 1,500 by the end of the New Hampshire primary. It's going to be a pretty high mountain to climb tonight. But we're now at 1,277. We'd like to get to 1,500 by the end of this primary. The reason we're trying to get so high is look at this map. And I'm going to show this a little bit later too. But if you look at this wonderful map that Colin just made for us, this is what we're trying to do here. So we've already booked our flight for Nevada, which is right here. Then we really need more funding to zigzag to South Carolina, which is over there. Then right after South Carolina is Super Tuesday. And to me, the Super Tuesday state that we'd want to cover is California. So you're talking about from where we are now, we got to first go to Nevada, so go cross country. Then we got to go cross country again to South Carolina. Then we'd have to go cross country again to California. So none of this is cheap, Jen. You and I were talking about this before we went live. For Jamal and I, that's probably conservative estimate, probably about 7,000.
Yeah, I think that's very, very conservative.
Flights, hotels, rent a car, all that. So right now we do have Nevada booked. We're going there for the caucus. I'm already hearing of real fudgery there. But this is what we're trying to do right there. Statuscoup.com/join. If you're not a member, consider signing up. We don't have the funds of corporate outlets, but we have the will. And we will talk about the Pete Buttigieg attack on our media outlet too, which of crazy things, Fox News of all outlets covered this fairly. No other outlet is covering it. So anyway, statuscoup.com/join. So I want to also talk about Elizabeth.
Join us.
Yes. I also want to talk about Elizabeth Warren, and keep the super chats coming. Keep signing up as a member. We will read out when we have new members. We have 600 people watching, only 356 likes. So we need another 300 people. Press that like button right under the video. And for those of you worried, I am going to the Bernie event tonight. We're going to cover that. So don't worry. This is the calm before the storm. We'll be live again later. So how do I expand this? Okay, there you are. So Elizabeth Warren, who, by the way, the most recent poll, let me get it up here. Elizabeth Warren in New Hampshire right now, the most recent poll, CNN University of New Hampshire from Sunday, it had Bernie Sanders at 28%, Mayor CIA at 21%, who's at third? Biden at third with 12%, Warren at fourth with 9%. So, assuming that's right, assuming Elizabeth Warren, let's say, comes in a distant third or fourth. Remember, if you know a map, if you know the map, I mean, it's right next to Massachusetts where she's a senator. So if Elizabeth Warren comes in third or fourth, you would have to think, what exactly is her path? Because she has, other than Bloomberg, who we'll get to in a bit, she has the most paid staff. If you come in a distant third in Iowa, if you come in a distant third or fourth potentially in New Hampshire, which is your neighboring state, what is your path? You have a lot of people to pay because you have the most staff of the non-billionaire candidates. And then you move into a more diverse map with Nevada and South Carolina, and she's not doing so hot among Latinos or African Americans. So before I ask you what you think, Jen, her campaign manager, Roger Lau, sent out a 2,000 word memo this morning, which was basically preemptively lowering expectations for New Hampshire. And he said that in the memo, he argued that Bernie Sanders has a political ceiling. Biden is at risk of collapsing, at least politically, and Buttigieg will struggle as the primary moves on. That's why they said that the race is volatile and unpredictable, and they expect it to be muddled throughout Super Tuesday in early March. Thank you. Welcome, new Status Coup member. What is your name? It just went off my screen.
It is Todd.
Todd, welcome. And by the way, if we get funding, we could actually have Jen, we could figure out tech for real so we don't have to just have her up on my computer screen. All right. Welcome, new member. Welcome, new member Todd. That brings us us to 1,278. Maybe we can get to 1,300 by the end of this live stream. So Jen, I'll tell you my thoughts in a minute. What do you think of Elizabeth Warren, who came in third in Iowa? Now her campaign obviously is putting out that memo preemptively, which indicates to me their internal polling is probably even worse than the public polls. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so obviously, as we all saw, Elizabeth Warren had a surge in the summer and the fall, and now she's kind of plummeting. She's going down, down, down. And I think you're totally right. The expectations for Elizabeth Warren were much higher because of her surge. But as we've seen, based on the polling, based on her, and let's just say, her support started to go down when she came out with her healthcare plan. And then when she screwed Bernie over, and as Jordan likes to say, stabbed him in the front. So the choices that Elizabeth Warren has made have gotten her to this point. So I think from a campaign kind of PR standpoint, the memo, the 2,000 word memo, which is kind of wild, that Roger Lau sent out, her campaign manager, it's definitely lowering expectations in a way that I think they want the media to grab hold of the positives for Elizabeth Warren. And meanwhile, she's slamming, not in a really harsh way. You know, with Bernie, I think she said, Bernie has a political ceiling. So she's trying to like diminish each candidate, take them down a notch while still saying that she has a path forward. And there's been a lot of chatter about, and I don't know that she does. If you look at how she's expected to do in each state, it just doesn't look good for her to collect the delegates. So there's additional chatter that maybe we'll report on later on as to whether she should continue on to collect those delegates in an effort to help Bernie, but that would be, a weird convention debacle. So we'll keep an eye on all that. But I think as far as right now, I don't fault her campaign for sending this memo. It's kind of sad, kind of like wah wah after her big rise.
Well, here's what I have to say. Might be a little controversial. If Elizabeth Warren comes in third or fourth, I think she should drop out. And if she doesn't drop out, it's just going to be more evidence to me she's not a true progressive. I know people are going to say, Jordan, you sexist mongrel. No, I think Tulsi Gabbard should drop out too. Frankly, I think I think Andrew Yang should drop out. I think most of these people polling very low, man and woman, should drop out. So it's not about her being a woman. I have the same standard for men too. But for Warren, here's why I think she should drop out if she doesn't come in second, at least, in New Hampshire, which it doesn't look like she's going to. First of all, what she's saying, Bernie has a ceiling, is just not backed up empirically. It's not backed up by data. Bernie just brought out more young people in Iowa than Barack Obama did in 2008. Everybody looks to 2008. Oh, we need 2008-like numbers. Welcome, new member Johnny. Johnny, be good. 1,279 status Coup members. Keep it coming, baby. $5 a month. $5 a month. And Jen, you've been adding the bonus behind the scenes videos and photos, correct?
Uh-huh. Yes. Well, there's one I've got to add. I'm adding some today.
Great. Because we are doing behind the scenes content just for our members. And Jen's doing way too much as it is. So sorry if it's not going up quickly. So this idea that he has a ceiling, he just brought out more young people than Obama did in 2008 to Iowa. He just brought out more Latinos, Muslims, and African Americans to vote in Iowa. Obviously, those aren't big demos in Iowa. It's only 6% Latino, less black, but he still brought them out. Thank you for the super chat, Sassy Girl. Thank you for the whole team. Great work. Love you, Sassy Girl. So this idea that he has a ceiling, well, what do you mean? He just is going up now in national polls. Quinnipiac has him taking the lead. Yeah. If so, a ceiling would mean he's going to be capped out at a certain number. But they said that about him in the summer and fall when he couldn't get out of between 18 and 20% second place. Now he's up at 25, 27% nationally in the lead. And by the way, he's at 25 or 27% nationally. Two polls now have him in the lead nationally when there's still 4 or 5 other candidates. So when people start dropping out, he might go up even further. So I don't really know what she means that he has a ceiling because, frankly, I think Joe Biden is headed towards Jeb Bush category. I think Joe Biden is headed towards possibly having to drop out after South Carolina, which is what Jeb Bush did in 2016. I think Joe Biden and, frankly, Obama and Obama world are probably going to convince Joe Biden, for the sake of your legacy, do not embarrass yourself any further. And if he can't come, if Joe Biden, comes in 4th or 5th place tonight, right? And then he loses Nevada, which he probably will. They might convince him to drop out before South Carolina, just for his legacy's sake. But so Elizabeth Warren, we just established, Jen. Am I wrong? Is she right that Bernie has a ceiling?
Yeah, I think she's completely wrong. As you say, it's not backed up by data at all. It doesn't even make any sense. The more people find out about Bernie Sanders, the more they like him. Even people who think that they like Donald Trump or, on that side, the working class, the people who think that they like Andrew Yang, the people who like Tulsi, Bernie has the chance to pick up a lot of those voters. He doesn't have a ceiling because when people are approached about policy and which policies they support, it's overwhelmingly Bernie's policies. So in that way, and the support is growing for things like Medicare for all, and the things that Bernie supports. The people are gaining knowledge every day about climate change and what a crisis we're in. So the more people learn, and the more Bernie's policies are explained, and the more the people kind of absorb those policies and what they actually believe in, they want Bernie. They just don't know it yet. So when you talk about a ceiling, she's probably trying to paint the picture of, oh, it's just these radical Bernie bros, these socialists. That's it. That's all the people. That's all the people who want to go for Bernie or who will go for Bernie. She knows that's not true, but it's easy to paint that picture because that's the picture that the media paints. So
welcome, new member Kashmir. Welcome, new member Kashmir. Wonderful. We're now at 1,280 members. 20 members from 1,300. I think we can get 20 members before I go to the Bernie Sanders rally tonight. What do you think?
I think so, for sure. Absolutely. And if I keep looking down, guys, I'm waiting for the announcement of the exit polls in New Hampshire. So I'm not ignoring Jordan or you guys.
By the way, I just want you guys to know, my girlfriend Anat is watching, and she is very, very upset at me right now for these McDonald's French fries. So definitely, if we get more funding, we'll have a little bit more support. So I don't have to be doing 25 things at once. And if I don't have to be doing 25 things at once, then I'll have a little bit more time to go get something healthier than McDonald's. Jamal, would you say I don't have much time to do anything here?
No, not much time.
I don't have much time to do anything. So let me get to, all right, so why I say Elizabeth Warren should drop out, besides the fact that she's making up data, is you claim to be a progressive, right? I don't think, some people don't like when I say it. I don't think Elizabeth Warren is as bad as Hillary Clinton. I don't think she's as bad as Donald Trump. I think some people need to get a little reality check. But she is not a progressive in the mold of Bernie Sanders. She is a pliable politician without a core conviction, as we've seen time and time again. However, if she wants to have a political future, and more importantly, if her goals are Bernie's goals, if she truly believes in Medicare for all, which I'm not sure she does, if she truly wants to regulate and put some safeguards in on Wall Street and other things like that, well, you got to look at your path and realize I'm going to have to lay off staff, which she's going to have to. You can't pay over 1,000 people on your staff if fundraising is drying up, and your fundraising is going to dry up if you come in a distant third in Iowa and you come in a distant third or fourth in New Hampshire. So that's number one. And if she doesn't come in second here, and if she were to drop out, most of her voters, I think it's been kind of a distortion by the corporate media to say, oh, her voters would just automatically go to Bernie. There are a good portion of her voters that will go to Bernie, but there's also a good portion of her voters that might go to Bloomberg, that might go to Pete if he's still in it, that might go to Amy if this Clomentum, which I'll get to too. So not all of her supporters will go to Bernie, but a good chunk of them would, that like Bernie, but frankly, let's be real, we're voting for Warren because they want a woman president. So I think that if she's true and genuine about wanting progressive change, then you got to just look at reality. You got Bernie solidified the progressive portion of the base. That's why she started going down. She also started going down as soon as she started to moonwalk away from Medicare for all. But if you don't have a viable path, and I think women by nature are less egocentric than men, so I don't think she would just want to stay in for her own ego. I think Pete would. I think Biden would, but you're harming Bernie more by staying in. And as such, hey, welcome new member EO. Welcome new member EO. However you pronounce it. 1,981, 19 members to go. So I think if you truly believe in progressive change, if you truly want the most progressive candidate to win, then you're just blocking him by staying in. That brings me to Tulsi Gabbard. I'll get in trouble. A lot of her supporters still think she's going to win the New Hampshire primary. I want what you're smoking. Listen, I say as a disclaimer, I think Tulsi's been treated incredibly unfair by the media. I think Tulsi Gabbard was basically Bernie Sanders, if that's I'm using it as a verb, Bernie Sanders, basically what Bernie experienced in 2016, the blackout, the attacks, is what Tulsi experienced now. So I'm not saying like maybe if she would have gotten more media attention, a little bit more of a fair process, I think she could have done better, because I think the anti-war message is actually attractive on the left and the right. A lot of Trump's base bought into his message of let's stop giving money all over the world. Let's stop fighting everybody's wars. But the reality is the reality. I think if she's lucky, she'll get 10% here. But again, same thing as Warren. She doesn't have a path beyond that. I know her supporters don't want to hear that, but she just doesn't have a path beyond that. She doesn't really have a real ground game in other states. I know she's gone to South Carolina a lot, but I mean, the bottom line is I love Tulsi Gabbard, but like her sister is basically her campaign manager. I'm not knocking her for that. My point is, it's not a real organized campaign with a lot of staff. And part of that is because she was treated so unfairly, it was hard to fundraise. So if Tulsi drops out, if Warren drops out, I think Yang should drop out, because I just think he's a tech bro. Sorry, Yang Gang. I think he's a tech bro. I like UBI as a concept. I don't like his version of it. We're now hearing that there's delayed severance payments to his workers, that laid off workers found out not by staff, but because their emails stopped working. I mean, this is not exactly progressive behavior. But you have to think, if Warren drops out, if Yang drops out, if Tulsi drops out, the majority of those three, particularly Yang and Tulsi, you would have to think goes to Bernie. Am I wrong?
I really think that the Yang people and the Tulsi people will absolutely go to Bernie, because those candidates are seen as different. You know, Bernie is seen as different. He's not the establishment. Same with Tulsi, same with Yang. So I think with Warren supporters, some will, but I don't know. I think a lot of her supporters have ended up being more of the Buttigieg type. So,
no, I meant the majority in terms of you lump all three of them together. I think the majority of all three supporters in totality would go to Bernie.
Well, I don't know that you can say that. Hold on. Exit poll.
Entrance poll.
No, exit poll. Okay, 1 second, and I'll be announcing some exit poll stuff.
I thought they called it entrance polls.
That was for the caucuses, because they don't do exit polls for the caucuses.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So now they have exit polls for the primary. So, yeah, they're just talking about Trump exit polls. Get to the good stuff, David Chalian. Okay, so I think Elizabeth Warren has so many more supporters than Yang and Tulsi do that it's hard to say that a majority of the three combined would go to Bernie. I definitely think a majority of Yang and Tulsi voters would absolutely go to Bernie, and a good chunk of Elizabeth Warren supporters would, but I really worry about the bump Buttigieg might get if Elizabeth Warren does drop out. And I've said this before on the show, I'm not a fan of calling for people to drop out, because that's what happened in 2016 to Bernie Sanders supporters. And, you know, left and right, we had elections stolen, primaries stolen from Bernie. You know, my heart still just drops when I think about what happened with California last time. So we had Hillary people calling for Bernie to drop out constantly. And that was so annoying, because there were still certain pathways. And so it's hard to say that people have a right to be in the race as long as they want to be. But when you're talking about how you want your preferred candidate to win, yeah, it sure would help Bernie if Tulsi and Yang dropped out, and maybe if Elizabeth Warren dropped out. I don't know what would happen.
So I completely disagree with you. But before I say that, just so you know, no, this is not product placement. We're not making any money from McDonald's. Because I saw a few people like, is McDonald's paying you? No. So I think that's apples and oranges.
Turn the box around.
Oh, I think that's apples and oranges, because the Hillary Clinton people were basically telling Bernie people to fall in line, basically for diametrically opposite ideological viewpoints, right? So I would say if there was still technically some type of pathway for either Tulsi, Warren, Yang, of course, it's a democracy, stay in as long as you want. And I'm not saying, by the way, they of course have the right to stay in. Nobody's like demanding they drop out. My point is Hillary was not even in the same planet for Bernie supporters in terms of the policies Bernie supporters champion. When Tulsi, Bernie, Yang, to a lesser degree, Yang, Bernie, according to what Elizabeth Warren claims she's for, Warren, Bernie, these are much closer planets if this is, the space continuum. So, and I also think I saw people in the chat saying, let them stay in as long as they want. I'm sorry, folks, but this is not like, church or synagogue league basketball where you all get a trophy at the end, right? Like, we have a common goal here. So I think, if you're a Tulsi supporter, a Yang supporter, I won't lump in Warren because I don't think her entire base is with Bernie. But I think if your goals are to end intervention around the world, don't let what do they say? Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Like, if Tulsi doesn't have a path, which I'm saying she doesn't, it's not because I don't like her. I do like her personally. I have criticized her when I see a reason to criticize her. I think some in the progressive media sphere have their head very far up her behind, and I don't think your head should be too far up anyone's behind. I criticize Bernie when I think he should be criticized. I don't like the way his campaign has handled the Iowa results. If it was me, if I was advising him, I would have sued. I think they have to be a lot more aggressive. And I don't like the fact that he dodged a question on, do you think this was intentional by the DNC? I mean, it has very similar feelings of how he operated in 2016, which I think was too softly and a little naively, to be honest with you. But putting all that aside, I think the bottom line is, should we just say, yeah, Tulsi, stay in as long as you want, even if you're going to get 4% in South Carolina, 2% in Nevada? Like, what is the point when those supporters could be helping somebody who is a lot more close, is the best next thing if you're a Tulsi supporter? If you're a Yang supporter, yeah, some of them say they'll stay home or go to Trump. But if what you're saying is true, that $1,000 a month would change your life, well, the closest person, it might not be $1,000 a month, but the person closest is Bernie, talking about a jobs guarantee, talking about universal health care. So to me, I say, we're not talking about Bernie supporters fall in line for a warmongering, neoliberal. You're talking about not even falling in line, like join a movement that's closely aligned with you. Warren, I think, is different, but I just totally disagree with stay in as long as you want. Like, the planet is burning, folks. We don't have time for everybody's supporters to feel good and for everybody to stay in as long as they want. This is an emergency situation. Antarctica was at 65 degrees the other day. Okay? Donald Trump. Do you see what Donald Trump is doing, folks? He literally just demanded the Department of Justice change its sentencing structure for Roger Stone. Whether you think Roger Stone should go to jail or not, Donald Trump is acting like a dictator acts. So I just think,
Okay, so my thing is this. You can't...
I'm not demanding they drop out. I'm saying I think they should.
It's not up to you. You can say anything you want, but it's a free country.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to thank Seth, who just left $100 in the super chat. Status Coup is an important voice of the media revolution. The more your reporting gets out, the more informed and better off this country will be away from the propagandist mainstream media. There's a whole lot of corruption to expose, and we have the right to see it. Seth, thank you as always. Your generous support warms our hearts.
Seth, you're so amazing. I saw someone say Jen checked out of the conversation. No, I haven't, guys. I'm doing 10 things at one time. So what I was looking at was one of the exit poll results that came in that I want to talk about. So I grabbed a notebook and I wrote it down. So about this conversation, it doesn't matter what we can say whatever we want. Yeah, as a Bernie supporter, I wish Tulsi would drop out. I wish Yang would drop out. But it doesn't really matter because they can run for as long as they want to. And I don't think we should be angry or upset. You know, Bernie supporters, I don't think should be badgering Tulsi to drop out. But, you know, we can all have our own opinion, and it definitely would help. It definitely would help. So one of the exit poll, hold on one second. One of the exit poll results have come in. They haven't announced for candidates yet. But so we talked a lot about on this show about the impact that media has, the media narrative has on the way that people vote. And so you guys are all political junkies like we are. You pay attention to the polls, you're informed, you know about the policies of each candidate. That's not the case with most people. So according to exit polls today in New Hampshire, 32% say they made up their mind in the last few days on who they were going to vote for. That's 32%. And I believe they took it off the screen, and I can't rewind it for some reason. I believe it was 16%. This may not be the exact number, but made up their mind today. So a substantial number of people made up their mind today, and 32% made up their mind in the last few days.
Did you just say 60%?
Talk about the fact that 16,
okay,
not
16.
60. No. So when you look at the fact that Bernie, who won Iowa, didn't get that usual victory speech that night after having won Iowa, and that Pete instead claimed victory when zero results were out, 0%, then continued to claim victory all over the news, all over his little rat campaign speeches. Pete, I'm worried because I'm worried that Pete got this bump. We'll see, based on media narrative. And who knows, maybe people are changing their minds and voting for Bernie based on the amazing canvassers and volunteers and ground team that Bernie has. I don't know. We don't have the results right now. Another result is 62% want a candidate who can beat Trump. There were other results earlier talking about the fear that people have about Trump. So Trump, it seems, in New Hampshire has been a major, major deciding factor in who people are voting for. So we'll see.
And I think that really matches what I was hearing from some of those Pete people online, which, you know, I was so disruptive, according to the Buttigieg campaign. If you watch the video of my interviews, I was pretty tame. I didn't even challenge them really. But anyway, because a lot of them, it seemed, were there because they had just started hearing more about Pete this week because the media declared him the Iowa caucus winner with no results. None. So I think that what you're hearing from Jen, it doesn't mean Pete's going to win the New Hampshire primary, but people making their mind up today or in the last few days, they were seeing all this adoring media coverage of Pete, and they were seeing this coverage of, oh, this guy just won the Iowa caucus, and they don't know, you know, that there were errors in the math and that the app didn't work. They're not paying attention to it as much as we are. So I think it really matters. The last thing I'll say on the dropouts, and then I want to move on. Somebody just compared what I'm saying to, like, Jordan, you're voter shaming, when you say the planet is on fire. Well, Hillary said in 2016, Medicare for all will never, ever come to pass. So don't make, like, declarative things. No. Hillary Clinton saying that was propaganda because her donors don't want Medicare for all in 2016. When I'm saying the planet is on fire, Google it. This is not like the same thing as Hillary Clinton saying Medicare for all will never, ever come to be. Like, the United Nations has said we have 12 years. That was before the Amazon was burning, right? Like, Antarctica, it's its hottest that it's ever been at this time of the year. So my point is, this is not a typical situation. I think people are looking at this like, well, if I don't get what I want, I'm not voting. All right, well, when the fire comes closing in on you, I hope it was worth it. That's all I have to say. And if you think I'm being rude or voter shaming, I'm telling you, now is the time to build a coalition of actual progressives and anti-war people. It's not the time to say, well, I support this person and she or he should stay in as long as they want. Of course they could stay in as long as they want. We're not demanding they drop out. I'm saying, what is the purpose of that? If you're Tulsi, one second, if you're Tulsi Gabbard, you can't get on the debate stage anymore. They've screwed you. So I don't see the purpose. That's all I'm saying. I think she's raised her profile. Frankly, I think if she were to drop out, it puts her in a really good position to possibly be in a Bernie administration if he wins. So that's my last thought on that, Jen.
Yeah, so I just wanted to do a little voter shaming first.
Well, somebody said I'm voter shaming. I'm not voter shaming. I'm saying
no. Hold on, listen. I'm making a segue of a joke because I'm really upset about this. So I'm gonna voter shame. This morning I looked at Twitter and this MSNBC clip. They interviewed this woman. They actually, to their credit, they actually were interviewing voters in the line. So they interviewed this woman, and the guy who was interviewing said, "Hey, who did you vote for?" And she goes, "Amy Klobuchar." And he goes, "Oh, okay. Can you tell me why you voted for Amy?" And she goes, "I went eeny, meeny, miny, mo." She literally chose who she was going to vote for. So I'm shaming, by doing literally eeny, meeny, miny, mo. So I'm going to shame that voter. And it's really just upsetting to me, I guess, along with that exit poll result that came out, that our world is on fire. People are dying because they don't have health care. And we have people saying eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And we have people deciding today and in the last few days who they're going to vote for. Hey, at least they're getting out and voting, I guess. But that's the voter shaming I'm going to do before we move on.
And what was really gratifying was, did you see the clip of somebody, Ari Melber was asking a voter who they voted for, and she said Bernie, and the voter said, and he asked why, and she said, honestly, I was considering all the candidates, but once I saw how much MSNBC was beating up on him, I decided to vote for him. So manufacturing consent seems to be backfiring in some cases, because this voter said, it just seems like you guys have been going too hard, too much on Bernie. And the MSNBC anchor was like, well, that's good feedback. I'll let Comcast know, so, all right, let's move on. So by the way, there was just another Warren news nugget. Yeah. So let me find that for you guys. And by the way, for those of you that came in late, we are covering the Bernie event live tonight. So we will be live tonight from Bernie's event here in Manchester, New Hampshire.
It's going to be great.
Yes.
Do you have it? I have it if you need.
The Warren campaign is pulling their money off of television in South Carolina. They're moving that money plus some additional funds towards television ads in Nevada and Maine, plus some radio and print ads in South Carolina. So, I mean, that makes sense. If her campaign is expecting her to come in third or fourth here, then Nevada is it. If she doesn't win Nevada or come in a close second, I think they're realizing like there is no path. And by pulling ads in South Carolina, you're basically, it's like sports, like if you're down in a series 3-2, you got to play your best players the next game, because if it's best out of 7, you got to win the next game. So Elizabeth Warren, I think, is in trouble. So, all right, let's move on, Jen. By the way, how many people we got watching right now? We got almost 1,600 people. We got 920 likes. So press that like button. It's right under the thumbs up. Right under the video is the thumbs up button. Did you say something, Jen?
Before it goes off screen, we have new exit poll results in. So issues that matter most to your vote: healthcare, 37%; foreign policy, 11%; climate change, 28%; income inequality. It went off the screen. So the top issue for people continues to be healthcare. And who do people like on healthcare? Bernard Sanders.
If the top issue is healthcare, then I would expect Bernie Sanders to win the New Hampshire primary. Just going to go out on a limb there. So we're at 1,271 members. So hopefully this next story can get it. Oh, no, we're at 1,281 members. Excuse me. So hopefully this next story could get us 19 more members. So, Jen, and as a reminder, we're moving off the primary for a second, but I will be live probably in the next 3 hours from the Bernie event tonight. Last time from Iowa, we were live on the night of the Iowa caucus. I went live for 4 straight hours. I can't even believe it. And we got over 100 members that night. So hopefully we have a little deja vu here. And hopefully there will actually be a winner declared. That would be such a nice thing this time around.
Crazy.
So, Jen, I'm going to take you off the screen for a second because I got to show this tweet. Have you ever heard of a group called Secure Democracy?
Sure have.
So, a tweet was sent to me earlier, and it's from Securing Democracy, and it says from February 1st through the 7th, the Russian state-backed media ecosystem made a clear push to fuel conspiracy theories related to the Iowa caucus. Okay. I don't know what the Russian state-backed media ecosystem is. I wasn't very good in biology, so I don't know that much about ecosystems, but all right, that was the first tweet. Then, as part of a thread, this group Securing Democracy says, on Twitter, state-backed media accounts spread various conspiracy theories about the Iowa caucus, many of which claim the DNC, the news media, and other candidates used, quote, dirty tricks to steal the victory from Senator Bernie Sanders. And there's a screenshot of a tweet from the Gray Zone, our friends over there, Max Blumenthal, Ben Norton, Aaron Mate. And then there's a tweet of little old me from February 5th. And it says, Iowa Democratic Party has had all of Polk County precincts results for 24 hours. Yet they just updated one precinct from Polk County. Polk County was expected to be Bernie Sanders territory. At this point, journalists with eyes and brain cells should report this as intentional. So, for those of you that don't know, this group, Securing Democracy, is an unholy alliance between such a patriot, Bill Kristol, who's one of the most preeminent warmongers of our time. Welcome, new member Rick Monroe just signed up. Woo!
Rick.
1,282. 18 members away. So we got Bill Kristol is with this group.
He's on the advisory board.
On the advisory board. Laura Rosenberger, who served as a foreign policy advisor for Hillary Clinton. She is on staff there. You got, who else do we have here? Again, Bill Kristol.
It's, hold on. So the team, let me pull this up here. The team at the top
I found it.
Lauren Rosenberger is the top one. She was on Hillary for America, foreign policy advisor for 2016. And then we have a bunch of, Jordan has it now, but go ahead.
So Michael Chertoff, who was part of the Bush administration and condoned torture while he was in, I think he was in the Department of Justice at that time. He was a Bushie, pushing us into the Iraq War, big on torture. Bill Kristol, big warmonger, never seen a war he doesn't love. Michael Morrell, who was the director of the CIA in 2011, and again from 2012 to 2013, believe he lied to Congress. So also on the board, let me get the board here. Oh, advisory council, excuse me. You have Mike McFaul, who was with the Obama administration, part of the National Security Council. I don't remember what he did, but I remember something bad. And John Podesta. Jen, are you familiar with John Podesta?
Oh, just a little bit.
Yeah. So
I won't make the jokes that I want to make.
Right. So John Podesta. So this is just, Mike Rogers. Who else we got here? I don't know. Oh, Jake Sullivan, Hillary Clinton's top foreign policy advisor. So this is the Hall of Fame of warmongers.
Actually, Mike McFaul was the ambassador to Russia from 2012 to 2014.
So number one, for full transparency. Hold
on, I just want to say one more thing. He was the architect of the Russian reset policy under Barack Obama. Continue.
Right. So if we read this tweet, and by the way, full disclosure, Jen and I have spoken with our attorney about this. I'm not going to put all our cards on the table, but we've had a legal discussion about this. Leave a super chat or become a member in case we decide to do something. If we decide to do something about this, probably going to cost a couple dollars. So when I read this tweet, you tell me if I'm wrong, Jen. But when Bill Kristol, John Podesta, Mike Morrell, their little group sends out a tweet, you zooming in here, the Russian state-backed media ecosystem made a clear push to fuel the conspiracy theories related to the Iowa caucus. And the next tweet, after introducing the Russian state-backed media ecosystem, has a screenshot of something I tweeted. Doesn't that basically say that I, Jordan Chariton, are part of the Russian state-backed media ecosystem?
That's sure how I understood it and read it.
And when you show an actual screenshot, it's not like just writing something. When you show an actual screenshot of something I tweeted, aren't you kind of defaming me as a person? And as a journalist, you are basically tweeting that I, Jordan Chariton, not to mention the gray zone, are part of the Russian state-backed media ecosystem. And essentially, as part of that ecosystem, I am fueling conspiracy theories related to the Iowa caucus. Am I misinterpreting this, Jen, or is this defamation?
I absolutely think it's defamation. There's really no other way to read that, in my opinion. I mean, you guys, all you viewers are smart people. How would you take it? That's exactly how I took it. So
what's amazing to me about this, I mean, there's so many different parts, but let's just start from the top here. I don't know who's tweeting for securing democracy, but if you're going to defame someone, at least get the quotes right. So when they say use dirty tricks, they put in quotations dirty tricks. Well, I'm a journalist, so if you put in quotations something, you're saying that is literally what a person said. I never called it dirty tricks. I called it corrupt because it was. But I've never used the phrase dirty tricks to steal the victory from Bernie Sanders. And we're going to get to the clarification tweet they put out after I threatened to sue them. But they misquoted me here. So after calling me part of the Russian state-backed media ecosystem, they also misquoted me that I said dirty tricks were used. So this is highly defamatory because, Jen, we're a startup media organization, right? We're having some momentum here. We're growing. Statuscoup.com/join. But we don't have any billionaires backing us. I don't have any bankers banking us. We don't have any fossil fuckers banking us. We don't have any big pharmaceutical executives funding us. Silicon Valley, big real estate. Certainly no Russian plutocrats that I know of. If we do have that, where are the rubles? Why am I eating McDonald's instead of a wonderful, wonderful steak? So they misquoted me. Secondly, they put a tweet that I put in suggesting this is conspiracy theories, but that tweet is actually a fact. I have the emails to prove it, and I have the screenshots to prove it. So let me break this down. If you don't know, Iowa Democratic Party has had all of Polk County precinct results for 24 hours. Yet they just updated one precinct from Polk County. Polk County was expected to be Bernie Sanders territory. At this point, journalists with eyes and brain cells should report this as intentional. So you could argue that the last statement, yeah, that's my opinion. I thought it was intentional. But the first part is backed up by sources who contacted me on the ground from Iowa, who were precinct chairs for Bernie Sanders' campaign, who told me the state party, every county has its own little Democratic Party. So the Polk County Democratic Party had the results for all precincts at that point for 24 hours. Welcome, new member Daryl. Woo! Statuscoup.com/join. We are now at 1,283 members. Can we get another 17 for a potential lawsuit? So I had not one, multiple sources telling me that all the precincts were submitted to the county, to the state party from Polk County. And when I went to the real-time map, the New York Times had their map of the counties. It showed, I think in the case of Polk County, 12 out of 13 precincts reporting. So basically, what I was told from sources on the ground, that's how journalism works. You have sources. I took what they told me, and then I looked at the New York Times map that said, oh, they're only showing 12 out of 13 precincts. And it's very close between Pete and Bernie. So if I have sources on the ground telling me they've had all the precincts for a day, they've had all the precincts, they were all submitted at the same time, but they're only reporting 12 out of 13. And then I look at the New York Times map and it says 12 out of 13. Is that a conspiracy theory, Jen, or is that verified fact that I verified as a journalist?
You verified it as a journalist. It's fact. And that's just one in a very large pile of errors. So this is wild.
And is Securing Democracy a journalistic group? Like, how would they know what is a conspiracy theory and what is verifiable fact? I don't see anybody on their advisory board or in their company or whatever they are. I don't know if they're a nonprofit or an NGO or whatever they are, but I don't see any journalists to even know whether this is a fact or a conspiracy theory. How would they even determine it? Did they look? Did they contact? They put, again, we got to be very specific here because this is defamation we're talking about. They put a specific tweet about me tweeting out all of Polk County precincts were sent in 24 hours ago. I sent this on February 5th. So did they contact sources on the ground to find out that this was false or a conspiracy theory? I don't think so. I'm not talking about the Gray Zones tweet because I don't really, I'm just talking, I can only handle my defamation. I don't know. I'm sure they were defamed. But what's amazing to me is, right or wrong, I think it's absurd that politically certain people don't like other people. So because they don't like other people, because we speak out against war, because we speak out against big money in politics, because we speak out against meritocracy and these things, you're labeled a Russian, part of the Russian state-backed media ecosystem. And why this is so damaging is because Jen and I do serious investigative reporting. So if we do serious investigative reporting and we are labeled part of the Russian state ecosystem as part of this new McCarthyism we live in under, if we pitch our stories to larger outlets, we might be, as a business, harmed if our stories will not be picked up because this class of people is falsely defaming us as part of the Russian media ecosystem, which, by the way, I don't think there is any problem with RT News. I think it's ridiculous. Do you know RT America has done more reporting on Flint than I've seen MSNBC do in 2 years? You could make your arguments if you want that they get money from the Russian government, but on the merits of their reporting, they do some good stuff.
They do. So I want to add my 2 cents there on this particular point because I do think there's a problem with Russian state TV. They do excellent reporting. There are good people like Lee Camp who are on RT. People I really like and I think are legit great people. But when you're talking about, as we do on this channel, being influenced by the money that you get, we have to be consistent. So, yeah, Russia has a vested interest in showing the bad stuff that the United States does. So that includes the Flint water crisis. That includes the warmongering. That includes all the things, or many of the things that Americans need to know about. But yeah, of course, Russia's not doing this out of the kindness of their hearts. They're not funding RT America News, like, just because. With that said, they do legit good journalism. They've done excellent work on Flint. So we're not debating RT here in particular, but I just wanted to make that little point here.
Sorry, I don't know if I articulated what I was trying to say. My point is, I think it's ridiculous that RT America, I was talking about RT America, has to, like, on YouTube, have this disclaimer, we are partly funded by Russian media. Well, if that's the case, then why doesn't CNN have a disclaimer, we are fully funded by AT&T? Why doesn't MSNBC have a disclaimer, we are funded by Comcast? I could go on and on. So my point is not that, yeah, of course, that Russian TV has RT America has a slant against the American government. But my point also is blanketing the whole network as propaganda when they do great reporting in some instances would be like me blanketing all of the New York Times or all of the Washington Post. The Washington Post did a great story recently on the completely reckless, immoral waste of time that Afghanistan has been. Doesn't mean that 75% of the other stuff they do isn't propaganda, but that was my point. I agree with you on that.
For sure.
But my whole point in this is we're entering this bizarro world where essentially media, well, they're not media, they are political operatives and neocons, can try to discredit adversarial, independent journalism by basically tying them with a foreign government that the American zeitgeist doesn't like without providing any facts. They have zero facts about our financial investors. And since you don't have any facts, let me just give you the facts. I've told the audience, in the beginning of status coup, we had one investor. He is a nice guy from Indiana, not Russia. $50,000. We bought equipment with that and brought on, at the time, Thai. Let me tell you something. $50,000, not a whole lot of money to start a company. Most of it went towards our equipment that we initially got. That's it. That's all we've had. Other than that, we did a GoFundMe for, what did we raise so far? $87,000?
Yeah, something like that.
$87,000. We have now 1,283 wonderful paying members. My only connection with Russia, unless I'm wrong, and somebody is brainwashing me that I don't know about, I watched Rocky IV several times. I really liked Rocky IV. I don't know if you've ever seen that, Jen, where Rocky takes on the Russian and beats him.
Chris Bedford, email us at info@statuscoup.com. That would be amazing.
So I liked Rocky IV. I don't like vodka. Russia obviously has vodka. More of a whiskey guy. I don't know. Are we part of the Russian? We don't have any Russian money. You see the bank just like I see the bank. We don't have any Russian money. And by the way, if somebody from Russia wants to contribute to our GoFundMe, wonderful. Like, what the hell is this? We don't say, if somebody wants to give $5 from Russia, because we have viewers all over the world. We have people watching in the UK. We have people watching in Spain. We have people all over the world watching. So it's like, this is madness. And why I'm so teed off about this is they're trying to, first of all, this specific tweet is about the Iowa caucus. But when they blanket us with Russia, that harms the people of Flint. That harms the people of Standing Rock. That harms the other stories we work on because it tries to delegitimize. They break news seriously because they're part of the Russian-backed ecosystem. Am I wrong?
You're absolutely right. It's extremely frustrating. And, we've gone into the people who are behind this outfit. These are warmongers. These are neocons. Bill Kristol is like king neocon. He had the Weekly Standard, which is now defunct. And actually, Abby Martin's brother, has an amazing documentary series that goes into the neocons and the march to war in Iraq. Anyway, these are the people. These are the architects. So they call themselves a nonpartisan group coming together to secure democracy. No, they're neocons. one of the top guys, the name is escaping right now. He has like been pushing for a war with Iran for a very long time. These people want war. They have a particular interest in this Russiagate narrative that has not died. This new Red Scare. I mean, that's why the Red Scare podcast is so popular. It's like a play on all this ridiculous stuff that's happening. This is not the first time this has happened. They smeared Abby Martin in the which report was it, Jordan? It wasn't the Mueller report. It came out the ID something C report. They smeared Abby Martin, saying she was a Russian propagandist for her show Breaking the Set. They've been doing this to independent media for a very long time, to good journalists who happen to be on RT like Abby used to be. They don't have an interest in the facts. So when Jordan talks about, oh, did they verify that my accurate journalistic tweet wasn't in fact accurate? No, of course they didn't verify that. They didn't check into it at all. They don't care. All they care about is smearing good work. And it is so infuriating because it's a really important investigative story that impacts a lot of lives, like tens of thousands of lives. And we're already really trying hard to get this out and to make sure that it sees the light of day in this corporate outlet we're working with. And to have this happen, I don't know what'll happen. Who knows? Because people's perceptions paint their reality. Now they might think, a lot of these people might think Jordan's a Russian spy now. Who knows? Because this group put this out like this, screenshot of Jordan's tweet, screenshot of the Gray Zone's tweet, put this out super irresponsibly, but they don't care. They don't care about the facts. They just care about painting their narrative and being neocons and marching us to war over and over and over and over. Endless war. That's all they care about. And this Russiagate narrative is how they're doing it. The smearing of independent journalists who are doing the work that corporate media will not do is how they're doing this. It's so it's disgusting. It's scary. This could happen to anyone.
So I'm not one to take things lying down. So I responded to them. Let's get that up here. And by the way, we have 1,500 people watching. So after this, we're going to take some questions, and then I'm going to head to Bernie's event. So I want to show you my response to this. So I tweeted, warmonger Bill Kristol's propaganda outfit, Secure Democracy, libel status coup, Iowa caucus reporting as from the Russian boogeyman. His group is funded by the U.S. government, NATO-backed German Marshall Fund. Be careful, Billy. We have a damn good lawyer. Maybe I shouldn't have said Billy, but, trying to be a little. So that's got 200 retweets, 631 likes. If you haven't seen it, go retweet this. So I guess Secure Democracy thought they were just going to smear us and smear me, and, just that would be that. So I guess they didn't expect me to respond or for that to get traction on social media. Again, I wrote my only connection to Russia was enjoying Rocky IV. So then when did I tweeted that at 2:58 p.m., 2:58 in the afternoon. And then they wrote about, when was this? 3:09. So 10 minutes later, they put out a clarifying point, which that means their attorney.
Clarifying in quotes.
Right.
Let's say.
That means their attorney told them to issue this because that's how these things work. They said by spread, we mean retweeted by Russian state-sponsored media accounts. Oh, that's what you meant. That's what you meant when you wrote a tweet saying Russian state-backed ecosystem. And then in your thread, right under that tweet, the second tweet part of that thread was a screenshot of something I wrote. Because your original tweet wasn't saying, oh, here's the people that Russia's retweeting or Russian accounts are retweeting. It claimed, without fact, that I am part of the Russian state media ecosystem. So this was a nice try at a clarification. Obviously does nothing to mitigate the defamation. So I wrote back, attention, secure democracy. Your clarification does not mitigate your defamation against me. You need to retract your original tweet with a screenshot of my tweet that claims I said, quote, dirty tricks were used to steal the Iowa caucus from Bernie Sanders. Or provide evidence where I said, quote, dirty tricks were used to steal the Iowa caucus from Bernie Sanders. Your tweet should say we are retracting our original tweet. I'm the CEO of a startup news outlet and your defamation of my name is harmful. Max Blumenthal responded, it doesn't mitigate their McCarthy defamation of the gray zone either. So that was, when did I tweet that? 3:39, so a little over 2 hours ago. Pretty sure, let's see if it's still up. Oh, yeah, the clarifying tweet is still up, as is their first tweet. So they're sticking with their neocon guns, Jen. And when I get out of New Hampshire, you, me, and our attorney are going to have a discussion about what comes next.
Sure are. Well, I want to point out that in their defense, like,
welcome, new member Daryl. Welcome, new member Daryl. Heyo.
Woohoo, Daryl.
I don't know what number we're at. Sorry, Jen. Go ahead.
Yeah, whenever you do that, I lose my train of thought. What was I saying? Yeah. Okay. So when they issued this in quotes correction, the correction doesn't make any sense based on their first tweet. So when they screenshotted Jordan's tweet, the Gray Zone's tweet, they could have screenshotted. So their defense of themselves in state TV or Russian accounts were retweeting these tweets, that these Russian accounts retweeted Jordan. Okay, so screenshot the retweet on their page, which is possible. You can screenshot that someone retweeted. Instead, they just screenshotted Jordan's tweet straight as it was, which makes it look like, and appears to be the case, that they are calling Jordan a Russian media, whatever it was, Russian media. It's absolutely absurd. The defense of themselves doesn't make any sense. So we're definitely going to be having some discussions with our lawyers. So you know what, guys? We're a startup. You want to help out, go to paypal.me/statuscoup or become a member. It would really help. We're definitely going to fight back because these neocons are disgusting in general. And the fact that, as Max Blumenthal said, these McCarthyite smears, it doesn't take away from that. We're yet to see the effects of this smear. So absolutely horrifying.
So let me just get the updated member count.
By the way, I saw Lori Sheridan in the chat. Hey, Lori.
Hey, Mama Sheridan's in the chat. We are now at 1,284 members, so 16 members away from 1,300. Can we get another 16 before we go over to the Bernie rally to cover that? So the last thing I'll say on this, I also want to be clear. If Russian bots or whatever are retweeting me, so what? What does that have to do with me? Like, okay, it's like condemning Bernie Sanders because some people are aggressive on Twitter. Like, so what? Barack Obama whispered something in Vladimir Putin's ear when he was president. So what? Like, I don't know, if somebody in Syria retweeted me, does that mean I'm part of Assad's government? Like, you can't control who retweets you, and you can't control the motives for who retweets you. You can't even control if they are real users or bots. But I thought securing democracy, right? Democracy is we could all have our own different opinions. So my opinion is we shouldn't demonize Russia. I think Vladimir Putin is a dangerous thug. I've said it over and over again. I think he's corrupt. I think he's a homophobe. I think he's corrupt on the level of Donald Trump. But Russia is not our enemy. And I think it's dangerous to create a nuclear war. And I'm right with Tulsi on that. And I'm with Bernie on that. So I don't understand. We need to be deranged about Russia to be considered real journalists. This is not democracy. This is dangerous neoliberal propaganda groupthink. So Billy Podesta charted off, and by the way, they got a whole lot more money than me because they're getting funded by the U.S. government, NATO, all that. But yeah, we might have to take action because this is unacceptable. And independent media, this is how they kill independent media, by basically strangling. It's the same thing what they're going to do to Bernie Sanders. If he gets ahead, he's an anti-Semite, he's a sexist, he's a communist, nothing on facts, nothing on policy. Notice they didn't explain what was a conspiracy about what I tweeted. They didn't explain or expose what did I factually say that was wrong. Actually, they misquoted me and said I used the term dirty tricks, which I didn't. So not only did they libel me and defame me as a part of the Russian state-backed ecosystem, but they misquoted me too, which is also grounds for defamation. So yeah, we got a lot going on, Jen. We're in Iowa. Excuse me, I don't even know where we are half the time. We're in New Hampshire. If we look at the map, if you came to this late, we're headed to Nevada next. Let's get the map out. After Nevada, we got to get more funding. I would like to go to South Carolina. I would like to go to California for Super Tuesday, but we don't have the funding for those things yet. So statuscoup.com/join. Our goal for tonight, I don't know if it's going to happen, but our goal for tonight is to hit that 1,500 members. So we are right now 16 away from 1,300. And then we got to really pull some muscle to get another 200 people. I would love to get another 216 people tonight. We got to move mountains to make it happen. But I think we could do it.
Guys, tell your friends, your family, your dog. Join us. I'm going to put up some more behind-the-scenes content after this. It's good stuff. It's amazing stuff. They're going to keep sending it to me so I can post more and more. We're going to do members calls. Jordan and I were talking about trying to figure out if we could do a members call while he's in Nevada and in the field. We'll try to figure that out because that'll be really exciting. You want the behind-the-scenes scoop on what's to come against Mr. Bill Kristol and friends? Well, join us. We want to know the behind-the-scenes on our trying to get this incredible investigative story published. Join us. We spill all the beans, as many beans as we can spill at a time. We often give TMI, and it's just, it's $5 a month. It might seem like nothing, so you're like, oh, it's not even worth joining. Trust me, it's worth joining. It all adds up, and you fund real reporting. It's so important. Please join statuscoup.com/join. And if you're already a member, you can support us at any amount. PayPal.me/statuscoup. And there's some questions coming in. Where's Pussy Riot? Pussy Riot's actually supporting Bernie Sanders, by the way. Okay, go ahead.
So the last thing I'll talk about, and then we're going to wrap so Jamal and I could go to the event, is status quo. I mean, we don't want to be the story, but we kind of are right now. Not through anything we're doing. Fox News, of all places. You can see this? Progressive journalists say they were harassed by Buttigieg campaign staff at rally. We've never dealt with this at Trump events. Of course, it's Fox News, so they snuck in something to try and make it seem like we were being complimentary to Trump. I'm not being complimentary to Trump. I'm just saying I never dealt at a Trump rally with what I dealt with at a Buttigieg rally. I'll put it in the super chat. We're not going to read the story to you, but if you want to read it, I actually was kind of surprised. I thought Fox News was pretty fair to us. And it's kind of a sad state of affairs when the only outlet that will cover what happened with us at Buttigieg's rally is Fox News. And why this is so important, if you don't know what we're talking about, Jamal and I were at a Pete Buttigieg rally the other day. We did nothing wrong. We had applied for credentials the day before. We got approved for credentials. We interviewed his supporters outside. There was no issue. I was pretty tame by my standards, I think. I didn't really go overboard challenging them because, frankly, they didn't know anything. And then we went inside. But when we were outside interviewing people, there was this one staffer. I don't know if she was a staffer, who was basically following us and monitoring us the whole time, to the point where I had to say at the end, like, you're not being subtle. And she was like, I know. And then once we checked in and got our credentials, we walked in, we interviewed another group of people, no issue. And then a different staffer comes up to me, says, did you sneak in? So I kind of, got a little testy. Welcome, new member Patrick. Hello. 15 members away from 1,300. So then after this one asked me if we snuck in, and I basically said, like, go away. No, we didn't sneak in. Then they have the audacity to go up to my cameraman and pull his name tag off. It's like an arts and crafts class. They gave us a name tag for media. I've never had a name tag given to me for a media credential. But anyway, they go up to him. They don't say a word. They just pulled his name tag off and said, I don't think you're supposed to have credentials. Lady, did you just notice that you just pulled a name tag off the only black dude in this gymnasium and told him you're not supposed to be here, basically? Even if you didn't mean it that way, it just shows the absolute tone deafness and, frankly, lack of concern towards black people. And yes, I'm going there because they didn't try to take my name tag off. What's the difference between Jamal and I? So anyway, why I'm bringing this up is this guy's getting a free pass. I mean, I don't want us to be the story here, but like, could you imagine if that was a Bernie Sanders rally and one of his staffers came up to an African-American journalist and ripped his name tag off? Joy Reid's head would explode. Don Lemon would be calling for an FBI investigation. And it would be through the roof, and rightly so. But when it happens to an independent outlet, and by the way, we're not alleging that it happened. I mean, we don't have the actual moment where they ripped the name tag off because Jamal was going to get his equipment. Like, he's not going to shoot the camera on himself as he walks. But like, we're not making it up. She took his name tag, and you see on video that woman who took his name tag coming up to me with all this fakakta nonsense that they were getting reports of us, quote unquote, disrupting people online outside. No, they weren't. They had some girl following us who didn't like the questions I was asking. So she told them, oh, these guys are being rowdy or whatever. But it's just outrageous that they did that. And it's outrageous that the media, other than Fox, isn't covering it. Jennifer?
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the results. Go ahead. I'm trying to figure them out.
I just said, I think it's outrageous that the media is not covering this. I know that they're trying to prop up Pete Buttigieg, but like, we reached out to his campaign. All I asked for was an apology. They don't respond. I think it's outrageous.
It is absolutely outrageous. And the point that stands out to me is when you said, imagine if this were Bernie Sanders' campaign. Just imagine a Bernie Sanders staffer going up to a black man and ripping his press credential off of his body. Just people would rightly be up in arms. We would be up in arms. Jordan and I are very clear. We both personally support Bernie Sanders. But when Bernie screws up, we call it out. If Bernie screws up in the future, we'll call it out. When President Sanders screws up in the future, we'll call it out. So the hypocrisy here is so disturbing and upsetting. We had, Breitbart wrote about this. Fox News wrote about this. Where's the other media? Why doesn't anyone else care? The fact that credentialed press were kicked out is absolutely absurd. Or I guess at the end they said, you guys can stay. There was one lady who tried to smooth things over.
Only because they saw that my tweet was taking off. That's when they decided to be nice.
Sure, of course. So the fact that this didn't, it got major, it made major waves among Bernie's supporters. But as far as mainstream media pickup, this should have been discussed on CNN. As Jordan said, it's not that we want ourselves or status quo or Jamal or Jordan to be the story, but it's a story. It's a major, major story because this is just one thing in a slew of problems by the Pete Buttigieg campaign. There was another story going around in Common Dreams that they had threatened to have someone arrested for handing out Medicare for All literature. The joke that's being made all over Twitter is Pete Buttigieg's campaign calls the manager that they're a Karen. So the corporate, the establishment, they're all latching on to Pete. It doesn't matter what Pete does. It doesn't matter that Pete kicked us off a month or two ago from his press list for reporting on him critically. They did it on purpose. It's not like they didn't just go in and remove just Jordan because his name was on the story. They removed me too. My name wasn't on the story. So they had it out for Status Coup as an outlet, Jordan in particular. And the fact that they accidentally screwed up and credentialed Jordan and Jamal is not our fault. It's their fault. They could have nicely come up and said, oh, hey, they didn't mean to credential you. That wouldn't have been great, but it wouldn't have been assault and harassment. So I find the whole thing extremely disturbing. I guess I'll give kudos to Fox. Obviously, Fox has numerous problems, and they're a propaganda network, but they covered the story fairly. And I don't know.
Don't tell my father that.
It makes me really upset just how hypocritical people are. Larry.
I think my father's dreams came true that I was in a Fox News article.
Yes, this is your big accomplishment in his view. So it's really upsetting. I don't get the hypocrisy because we're not like that. We obviously have a bias that we talk about, but we're also fair and we report on fact above all else. We report based on what's real and what's right, and that's why Status Quo is different. I just no hope for the establishment.
And the last thing I'll say, because we got to go to the event. By the way, if you're not on our email list, if you're not on our text list, you might not know when we're live tonight. Statuscoup.com. Enter your email there. So you can get on our email list. We're definitely going to send out an email tonight when we're live. Make sure if you've already signed up for our email list, go to your spam because we have been going to too many spam folders. So take us out of spam. If you have signed up for our email list, you got to check if we're in spam. And also text COUP. Text COUP. Huh?
No, I just said do it. I was just like background cheering you on.
Oh, text COUP to 474747 so you can get on our text list. A lot of times YouTube doesn't notify you or notifies you like an hour after we're live. So we don't want that. You'll get a text when we're live. The last thing I'll say, and in fairness, this is not like I can't blame Pete Buttigieg, the person, but I broke earlier, and this is just a horrible story. So look at this. At a New Hampshire primary poll location today where people were voting, this was in Newmarket, New Hampshire, State Representative Ellen Reed was parked in a legally handicapped parking spot. She just had knee surgery, so she had a handicap sign. She had a Bernie Sanders car topper. See that? Bernie's back on top of her car. So Pete Buttigieg's campaign complained to the head of the polling place that she was electioneering and forced a woman who just had knee surgery to park down the road a quarter mile. She had to walk a quarter mile. That might not sound like a big deal to you, but if you just had knee surgery, walking like 100 yards could be painful, So she told me, I'm feeling it right now. This was electioneering that the Pete Buttigieg campaign, again, I don't know if it was staffers, I don't know if it was volunteers, who knows. They complained and made the person in charge of the polling place make her move her car, even though she told him she just had knee surgery, even though she had a handicap placard, legally was allowed to park in a handicap spot. This is a state representative, by the way. Quote, I called both the Governor's Commission on ADA, that's American Disabilities Act, who did confirm that you cannot force a vehicle that is legally parked in a handicap spot to move. She also talked to the Secretary of State's office, who read the RSA, which I think is like rules, to me, and said that if a vehicle is street legal, it is not considered electioneering to have political signs on it. They had no legal reason to tell me to move the vehicle. She said, I'm feeling it right now. Plus, there's a lot of ice and stuff. It's pretty treacherous for someone who can't really keep their own balance. So I'm not a doctor, but if you just had knee surgery, it's, you're sore. You don't have great balance. I don't know, ligaments or whatever are healing. So again, to be fair, Pete Buttigieg is not at fault. It's not him. But it just shows you that this campaign is run by a bunch of people that don't have any empathy. They're hovering over journalists. They're yanking a press tag off my cameraman. I'm sorry to keep saying that he's black. I'm not trying to make that the whole issue, but it does matter, especially for a campaign that has a problem with black voters, especially for a person, Pete Buttigieg, who publicly has been criticized by the black community in South Bend. Like, have some self-awareness. And to do this to somebody who's openly saying to you, speaking of state representative who got in touch with me, I had knee surgery. I have a handicap placard. Oh, no, because she had a sign up that said Bernie's back outside the polling. We don't care. Walk. It's outrageous. Jen?
Yeah. So before we close out, I want to give a quick update. I saw some questions in the chat. We can expect, people are asking when we can expect results, probably around 9:30 if all goes well Eastern time. We'll see. As far as exit poll results, we still don't have, candidate data, but exit poll, 35% wanted a candidate who can bring needed change. So that's one mark in the favor of Bernie Sanders. 61% describe themselves as somewhat or very liberal. And 67% are in favor of free public college. So with that on top of the public health care data, it's looking pretty good. I don't want to get people too excited.
I'm getting ahead of myself. I think Bernie Sanders is going to win tonight. 37% top issue was healthcare. That's Bernie. You said, what was it, 30-something% said top quality?
Absolutely.
Top quality was policy change, or?
35% wanted a candidate who could bring needed change.
Was that higher or lower than beating Trump?
Well, that actually was not. And the beating Trump data was another set of questions. It was its own set of questions, and that was very, very high. I did not write that one down in particular, but that was very high. It is an important issue for people, but which is okay because consistently polling shows that Bernie is thought to be able to beat Trump. I did see a poll that showed that Buttigieg was a little bit higher than that now, which makes no sense at all and makes me think that these people that were polled are just completely insane because Buttigieg cannot beat Trump. So I don't know. But as far as issues are concerned, free public college and healthcare, those are Bernie issues, and they are dramatically supported by these voters. So we shall see.
And I want to give some shout outs because we got a couple more new members. So welcome new member, Patrick. Welcome new member, Cameron. So we're now at 1,000. Let me make sure I have my number right. 1,287. So that's 13 members from 1,300. So I'm going to give you my final push here so we can get another 13 members. Because I think if we're at 200 down, if we're at 1,300 by the time I get to this event tonight, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. It's a big, big mountain to climb to get 200 members by the time the primary is done. But I don't know. I climbed a mountain after back surgery. You were there. So maybe we could do it. I didn't climb the mountain per se, but I did walk up very steep slopes in the Appalachian Trail, which is probably why I needed another back surgery a year later. But I digress.
It's true. Jordan was, it was mountains.
Yes.
Well, not
that was to cover the Mountain Valley Pipeline, which is a ticking. That was to cover the Mountain Valley Pipeline, which was a ticking time bomb natural gas pipeline they're putting under the Appalachian Trail. So let me tell you why you should become a member if you're not a member. First of all, do you see this shitty technology situation we have here? If we have more funding, there will be technology where we could bring in Jen, not like on screen with shitty Wi-Fi. We could also afford to stay at better hotels with better Wi-Fi, because that's part of why this is chopping up a little bit. The other thing is, you see this map that I said here? Again, we've already booked Nevada, so we're going there. We don't yet have funding for South Carolina and California. We put California in because, to me, that's the most important Super Tuesday state. Super Tuesday obviously has, I think, 14 states voting this time. We can't go to 14 states, but we can go to one. So I think we're going to do California. So right here is expensive in itself, but it's not just the travel that we need to provide funding for. We need more like bodies. You know, you could have money for travel, but that doesn't mean you're going to have enough. As we grow, there's more and more work to do. We're getting deluged. When I say we, mostly Jen is handling most of it. We're getting deluged, like bombarded by emails. We want to answer all of them. I'm getting bombarded with tips and people sending me news tips and sources. I can only do so much. We need help in marketing. We need help in social media. We would like help in marketing, social media, business development, so that we could take some of that off Jen's plate so she could do more reporting. We're asking you, I mean, we have different plans. You could become a member at $5 a month, a member at $10 a month, a member at $20 a month, or a member at $179 annually. You could also, if you're interested, contact us for other things. We don't want the Russian plutocrats money, just to be clear. But it's all very expensive. It's all very expensive is the point. But I think also what is helping us, Jen, I'm kind of a show, don't tell person. I think we're showing it. Like, we're there. I mean, there are other outlets that don't cover as much as we do. And even when they're in the same place that we are, frankly, they just don't do it the way we do it. It doesn't mean they're terrible, but it just means there are very few outlets that are as scrappy, as aggressive, and frankly, as down with the proletariat that we are. And that's why, even as we grow, I don't want to really, how do I say this? I don't want to be like, WhatsApp and be bought by Facebook. Like, I don't want to merge with a bigger outlet or take funding from negative. We want to, even as we grow, we want to still have our status quo edge. We want to still be scrappy, but we need funding. That's the bottom line. It's all very expensive to be on if we get the funding, we already have Nevada, but if we get this funding, this is February 19th, we're going there to Nevada. This would be February 19th through March 3rd. That's a long time to be on the road. You're talking several cross-country flights, hotels, rent-a-car, food, miscellaneous costs that come up. Sometimes we need more new equipment, that kind of thing. It all costs a lot of money. So don't think like we're asking you for money to go have a nice dinner. No, we're asking for money because we're doing this the right way. It's the hard way, but it's the right way. The right way to do this is through the people. And I think we're not Bernie, don't get me wrong, but I think that's why Bernie's having success. Because when you have money from people, you're liberated to do what you think is right.
And about the people, that's what's so cool is because you guys are the reason. We keep talking about this big investigative story that we're trying to get out there and will get out there, but you guys are the reason that we have that story. And this story, as I said, is impacting tens of thousands upon thousands of lives. And you are the reason that we have that. You're the reason we are in the field and got this story that nobody else has. You're the reason that Jordan is in New Hampshire right now, that he was in Iowa, that he's doing this incredible reporting in the way that nobody else is doing. I mean, when Jordan goes to these events, people just, the staffers and the other journalists aren't used to people actually reporting in this way and actually talking to the people. So he gets surprised looks, I think, sometimes from the other journalists and stuff. But that's because of you guys. You are making this possible. It's absolutely incredible. We've grown by so many new members in the last couple of weeks that it blows our minds, but we definitely need more. Just as low as $5 a month, it definitely helps. And the more members we have, the better it is to show progressive investors, things like that. So, and you get great behind the scenes content, really, like sometimes some of it's silly and fun. Sometimes you get juicy behind the scenes info, and just, we want you to feel like you're part of this. And as Anat says, part of the Coup community. And that's what this is. You're a part of this reporting, and you get just amazing content. It's so fun and really impactful. And I know that you guys believe so much in Status Coup. That's why you're a viewer. So please just go to statuscoup.com/join. I totally promise it's worth it. statuscoup.com/join and be part of this reporting.
All right. Jamal and I need to get going to the event tonight, so we will see you there. Like Jen said, we're probably looking at, I don't know, 9 o'clock, 9:30 Eastern, where we'll have results. I will be on it. If there is any shenanigans and corruption, I'll be on that. And we'll see you a little bit later live. Statuscoup.com/join. Thanks for watching.
Love you all. Bye.